We're Sid and Mackie, and we're professional mountain bikers on a quest to race the best and most unique mountain bike races around the world and the United States. Over the years, we've raced on 4 continents, competed in enduro at a high level, and experimented with a wide range of mountain bike disciplines. However, the past 2 years have brought some big changes. A major injury kept me away from training for almost that entire 2 years. And in late 2021, we decided to put down roots and buy a house. And that house required, well, a little bit of work. To make a long story short, we found ourselves in mid-January of this year, 10 weeks out from our first race of the year and not at all in race shape.
With a punch in the gut from reality. It says, you are out of shape.
Well, welcome to the club.
There's nowhere to go but up.
Now it's time to find out if 10 weeks was enough time to turn things around.
We are heading to Moab today to race our first cross-country race of the season.
Unfortunately, we did not get a very early start on our training this year, so today we are gonna take you guys back in time and show you how we went from a very low level of fitness to race ready.
Or what we hope is race ready.
In 10 weeks. We've raced Moab Rocks before in 2019 together, and then Mackie raced it on his own just 6 months ago this past October. So we have a fairly good idea of what we are getting ourselves into. 3 big days of cross-country racing in the desert. However, both of these previous times we came into the race with quite a bit of training and race experience in our legs. In 2019, we had just returned from a trip to Chile where we spent 5 days racing and carrying our bikes up and over the Andes at the Andes Pacifico Enduro. Last October, Mackie was at the end of a long race season, and preparing for Moab Rocks was simply a matter of maintaining his existing fitness and getting adequate recovery.
This year was a little different. After spending all of December renovating our new home, we had grand plans of starting our training program on January 1st. Unfortunately, we got sick over New Year's, and that delayed our start another 2 weeks.
I kind of am getting the feeling that Mike, our coach, is tired of our crap.
While we weren't inactive during this period, we were still riding and doing a bit of gym work. We weren't consistent, and we didn't do our first interval session until January 18th. And, well, it was a bit of an inauspicious start.
What's the matter?
I don't know what to do. That last one was 40 watts below. I can't even get close. I just don't know if I'm getting any benefit or if I'm just tiring myself out. It just sucks. I'm running like race pace heart rates, running like 165 and can like occasionally break 300. With a punch in the gut from reality. It says, you are out of shape. And it's gonna take a lot of hard work to get back into shape.
However, having a rough first workout isn't always a bad thing, and this workout definitely lit a fire.
Was there any disappointment from me in how Mackie performed that first big workout? And the answer is no. You are where you are when we start. And so if you're a little behind or a little ahead, or you had to take some time off to demo and remodel your new home, that's okay. That's where we're starting. And it gave me a good picture of what we needed to do over the next couple months.
Since then, we've buckled down, and with the help of Coach Mike, we've focused our training on the 3 major components we knew we would see at Moab Rocks, and throughout the rest of the season: long climbs, rough trails, and big days.
The first day of Moab Rocks starts with a 13-mile climb up Sand Flats Road to the top of Upper Porcupine Single Track, or UPS, which is part of the famous Whole Enchilada descent. This is kind of a tough start for us since our enduro racing background doesn't transfer that well to road climbs.
Well, I would say yesterday I identified a weakness, specifically long, fairly flat gravel climbs.
Yeah, were there any more of those today?
Well, today I confirmed my hypothesis that those are in fact not what I'm very good
We
at
now
right
have 2 data points in
2
the
data
set.
points.
To prepare, the first 6 weeks of our training program focused on tempo intervals, with the typical riding workout consisting of 3 by 20-minute tempo efforts going uphill. When we're riding at tempo pace, that means we're putting out a power that is below lactate threshold, and our perceived exertion is around 7 on the rider perceived exertion scale.
Didn't love it. You know, you don't have to hit super high power numbers. I didn't have any trouble being where I was supposed to be, but I felt awful.
Actually, having them move to Los Alamos, have some slightly milder weather than Taos, was actually really good for this. So they could ride up to Pajarito. A lot of really good climbing in.
We then moved to threshold interval workouts, riding just at or above our functional threshold power, or FTP, for 5 minutes with 1 minute of rest in between each interval, and repeating this 5 times.
Good job.
At least we won't be eating roast beef sandwiches before
The race?
the race.
Yeah.
It's a long slog, and let's get used to having extended periods of output.
Luckily for us, mountain bike racing isn't all about watts per kilo. The vast majority of this race is on single track, and fairly rough single track at that. Since we weren't able to ride outside much this winter due to the trails being snowy and muddy, we tried to focus our gym work so we would be as prepared as possible for technical climbing and rough descents. We spent most of the past 10 weeks in a strength build phase, focusing on full body movements like squat and deadlift, which transfer well to getting up and over steep ledges, of which there are quite a few in Moab, and also to help avoid fatigue on long descents. We also worked on our upper body strength, with a focus on shoulder stability and pressing strength, as that's what allows us to control the bike and pump through rough sections.
We didn't get as much time on the mountain bike as I would have liked going into next weekend. But that said, I think that the work we've done on the bike, combined with the resistance training that Dane has put forth, has been a good combination. Dane's using exercises like deadlift and Turkish get-ups that are really putting some stress on the forearms and grip strength and shoulder stability that we're going to need at Moab Rocks.
Because Moab Rocks is 3 days of cross-country racing in a row, overall endurance work is very important. This was especially critical for me since my endurance took a big hit during my injury and has been the slowest component to bounce back.
Bye, Mackie. Leave me, save yourself.
Because we couldn't ride mountain bikes for most of the winter, we worked on endurance by spending lots of time cross-country skiing, AT skiing, and riding on the road. We also made sure to have periods where we did hard on-bike workouts several days in a row to mimic the stressors of stage racing.
Do a day or two of hard intervals, and then a day of endurance, or a day of hard intervals, and then 2 days of endurance. Combining this with the resistance training that Dane has Sid and Mackie doing has been really good at preparing not just their cardiovascular system, but their musculature to withstand 3 days of racing. For that type of racing, where we're doing 3, 4, 5 days in a row, having more than just the cardiovascular fitness to keep going is really important. You need some resiliency.
Love you. Have fun.
did it. I'm back. I did not freeze to death.
So, did it work?
It's an excellent question. I would say for me, I feel like it has worked. That first interval session that was kind of a test of Mike's destroyed me. I was pretty upset. I was not able to hit the numbers at all. And then after doing the tempos and then going back to doing threshold intervals, I was actually able to hit those numbers regularly for all 5 intervals, multiple weeks in a row. And so I feel very positive about that. I feel like I have kind of gotten back to maybe not where I was at the end of last season, but I'm a lot closer than I was when we started doing training this year.
Am I, as a coach, pleased with the progress they've made? Short answer, no, absolutely not. I'm kidding. Yes, for 2 athletes that are dealing with a totally new situation for themselves, I think it's been fantastic. Like Macky's fitness definitely came back after that first interval workout. There's no question.
I am super proud of us and the work that we were able to put in 10 weeks. My fitness score on Training Peaks actually doubled in the past 10 weeks.
That's awesome.
Admittedly, the bar was low to begin with because I had been injured for so long, and I definitely am not back to my pre-injury form, but I feel encouraged by how much I was able to get back in a short period of time.
Yeah, you've made huge improvements.
And then Sid's has just like continued to grow almost on a weekly basis. One of the benefits of coming off of an injury where fitness was really limited is that there's nowhere to go but up. And so we've seen a lot of improvement, and I think we're going to see a lot more improvement from Sid over the course of the summer and even the next year.
When I did that infamous first workout, I was hitting the numbers. At that point, the number I was shooting for was about 214 watts. I did that same workout on March 14th and was averaging like 235. So
it's like a 20-watt improvement. Hopefully this video gave you guys a little bit of encouragement or inspiration that you really can gain back or gain a lot of fitness fairly quickly. Sure, 10 weeks is almost 3 months, but grand scheme of things, that's not that long to have made some pretty significant fitness improvements and feel much more confident and ready for the season.
And Coach Mike does have some training plans available for purchase on Training Peaks, and we'll put a link to that in the description of this video if you need a little Derner magic. So make sure you're subscribed and come back next week to see us put this training into action at our first cross-country race of the year.
I'm a little scared.
I'm terrified.
Yeah.